where is Nancy Guthrie? Over the weekend, there was one more video that the Guthrie family put out on social media. There was an original ransom request, and the timeline was 5 p.m. on Friday. That timeline came and went without any movement in this case. We do know that there is another timeline that is, again, 5 p.m. today, local time. So it'll be about 7 p.m. here. Arizona doesn't use daylight savings time, but we're not in that right now, right? So it's 2 hours. And so the question is, what will happen? We do know that the Guthrie family has asked for more police presence at Nancy's home. But beyond that, we do not know too much. We do know this, an active case. This is an extremely active case with federal, state, and local authorities really focused on trying to bring Nancy Guthrie home. You probably remember all of this started about 9 days ago. She was last seen on Saturday night, and then basically wasn't seen at church on Sunday. And one of Nancy Guthrie's friends reached out to the Guthrie family and said, hey, mom wasn't at church. And that's kind of what started this whole thing. The question is, when did the Guthrie family get finally these ransom notes, some of these letters that were sent to TV stations? I don't think that we know in Philadelphia for sure when that happened. But again, one of the teams that has definitely been on it since the beginning is TMZ. And so we are going to go to Michael Babcock in just a few moments. We're trying to get all the technicals ready. But the big question that many people are trying to answer, is she alive? You probably know this if you've been following the story. She is a woman that uses a pacemaker. We know this because many members of law enforcement have said that her pacemaker was disconnected from her Apple Watch. The Apple Watch, we believe, is in the family home. The other thing that we know is she's on some type of medication. We don't know what the medication is, but during this whole time, the family has said one of the reasons why, other than they want their mom back, one of the reasons why they want her is because there may be an issue with medication. So again, we've been talking about this. Michael Babcock and the team over at TMZ has been on this literally since the moment this happened. Good afternoon to you, bud.
Hey, Jen, how are you?
I'm good. So again, what do we know? We know there was another piece of video put out there on social media, much shorter. In it, Savannah Guthrie says, we're ready to pay you. What do we know about that video and what communication they may have received over the weekend?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have watched that video, Jen, and even the first video where it was Savannah and her brother and her sister. I think a lot of people have looked at that and said that they're speaking in a strange way. And I think that may be true. The reality is we just don't know what might be coded language or what language the potential captors or abductors might be asking the Guthries to use. So I think there are likely things happening behind the scenes here that might explain some of the phrasing used in these videos that the Guthrie family has made. But the reality is here now we're in past the week. Obviously, she was taken sometime in the early morning hours of Sunday, which is now 8 days ago. She is 84 years old. She's got medical conditions. She's not in great physical health. And there is a real concern over her well-being, obviously, to say the least. Add to it, Jen, the fact that we got this letter on Tuesday morning, what was looked like a ransom letter, somebody claiming to have abducted Nancy Guthrie and to be holding her, and they gave two deadlines. One of those deadlines was on Thursday. That deadline passed. When that deadline passed, they said the amount of money that was going to be needed to release her was going to increase by a pretty sizable amount also, I will say. The second deadline is today, and with that deadline in the letter that TMZ received, they incredibly dire circumstance if the money should not be paid, as serious as could possibly be, and that deadline is looming now, just a couple hours away.
Have you seen the letter? Are you physically privy? Have you read it or seen it?
I have, yeah, many times.
Okay, and so are you, and you are allowed to do this. Are you keeping some of the details to yourself?
Yeah, Jen, because that was the FBI's request. So
Yep.
because of that, they did not want the details, and they have since talked about some. Like I don't remember if you and I spoke about this, Jen, but if we did when we got the letter, I might have referenced some things that potentially only the abductors would know. Now the FBI has come out and spoken about some of those things, that being an Apple Watch that she might have been wearing, Nancy might have been wearing when this all happened, as well as a spotlight on the home. So those were two things that were referenced in the letter that the FBI has since addressed. But they have not wanted us to put out the letter, and obviously we're not going to do anything to potentially jeopardize finding her. So because of that, there are only certain things we've said about the letter, but I have read it many times.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It makes sense. I just wanted to give people an idea. And so,
yeah.
And again, you can tell me this, you don't have to. We deal with this here in Philly, but did it go into like a group mailbox? Was it sent to Harvey? Like, was it, so it was a group mailbox?
It was, yeah. So there, we've got, and there's a couple different ways to get to this place, but we've got a tip line, or a tip email rather. It's like a form, I should say. Maybe email is not even the right way to describe it, but a tip form on the TMZ website that you can fill out, and you can do it anonymously, which obviously has become an issue in this case. But it did go to a bunch of people, probably went to 100 people or so. And I remember it was 10:37 a.m. on Tuesday morning, so tomorrow will be a week, and it pops up, and you say, oh, what's this? And it, many times it's often silly information that might have to do with the celebrity dating. Obviously, this was the complete opposite of that, and I remember just reading it like, whoa, this could actually be something big here, and turned over to the local police shortly after that. Then there was a long conversation with the FBI a few hours later where they had a lot of questions, and obviously from there they've been investigating, trying to find who sent it.
And it's interesting that, that they sent it to you guys and not NBC, right? Because
right.
I mean, that would make sense because that's where.
Yeah, I think maybe because they, and to my knowledge, NBC has not gotten it, but and by the way, the family does have it because the police gave it to the family, but I don't know if they thought that NBC potentially wouldn't post about it, wouldn't report on it, and potentially that's why they didn't send it to them. But yeah, I think that's a fair question, Jen.
And then, so I was watching the internet and Twitter all weekend because I was worried about Lindsey Vonn and worried about this case.
Yeah.
Friday night late, there was someone reporting, I don't even know from where, about a bunch of lights, a bunch of pictures that were being taken inside Nancy Guthrie's home. Authorities were doing that. Do you know anything about anything happening late Friday?
Yeah. They've gone back to the home multiple times, and it's strange. And I think because of the way that has played out, a lot of people have said, hey, I think the Pima County Sheriff's Office is in over their head. They've never had a case that is anywhere near this high profile, and that they have had potentially some missteps here. Is that true? I don't know. Obviously, I'm not an investigator, but that's something that has certainly been said. And yeah, they went back to the home, seemingly taking photographs. And I think you wonder what they're looking for. Was there new information that caused them to go look for something in particular? They have said as recent as yesterday, Jen, that they do not have any suspects. They don't have persons of interest. They don't have any vehicles that have been identified as potentially being linked to this crime. So I don't know if that's entirely true or if they're holding something back. But if it is true, it's kind of scary to think that they don't have much to go off of right now. And again, assuming that Nancy doesn't have all the time in the world.
So yeah, it's interesting, right? Because there are people in law enforcement here locally who are like, you would never say that. You would never say. But if on the flip side, again, we are curious, we are journalists. If you had someone, you wouldn't say we're looking for a dude in this thing,
right.
in this case,
right.
because then they would know that
right.
law enforcement's onto them.
Exactly, and that's why I kind of hesitate to say that they're botching this thing, because who knows. Now you listen to what the president said. I want to say it was Friday. It was potentially Saturday. I believe Friday though. He seemed to indicate that there was some reason to believe that there were some positive things happening behind the scenes, but. Again, to our knowledge, there has been no real movement in the case since then. So I don't know if something didn't pan out that they thought was going to pan out, or that was just unfounded optimism. But he seemed to indicate that, hey, we're getting close to possibly, a big break in this case here. But here we are Monday afternoon, and I don't know what that break is. It's certainly nothing that I'm aware of.
That's another reason I was on the internet, because I'm like, okay, he must know something. He is the president of the United States.
Yeah, I was the same way, and then it's just nothing.
All right. Well, listen, I know I will be looking at the internet. I'm also looking at TMZ.com, and we're also watching you everywhere that you guys are. We appreciate having you as a broadcast partner, and I appreciate you taking the time to hop on. So
anytime. Thank you for having me again, Jen. I appreciate it.
For sure. I'm hoping for a happy result to all of this.
Me too.
Okay. That's Michael Babcock, and he's at TMZ.